Good morning, students. Now we have come to the next part of this chapter. Already we have discussed two theories, Lamarckism and Darwinism, and their principles. Lamarckism principles have been divided into 5 subheadings. 4 subheadings we have discussed, and Darwinism, it is having the 5 subheadings. Now we have come to the next part, that is called the variation. Variation is nothing but the changes or differences that are found within a species or between the species. I will give an example. Suppose human being, Homo sapiens, all are human being, but we can see the differences among ourselves. One person is not exactly the same like others. Some differences are there. Even the brothers and sisters of the same parents, they are also different from each other. So we can see the differences among ourselves, which in biological term is called the variation. Now, how does this variation take place? Now that we are going to discuss during sexual reproduction, which involves meiosis. During the formation of gametes, meiosis take place. Maybe you have studied in 9th standard mitosis, meiosis, cell division. Meiosis takes place during formation of gametes, and fusion of the gametes take place so that the young ones develop, which brings the variation. So sexual reproduction, which involves meiosis, helps in recombination of genes. Recombination means changing in sequence of genes during gametic fusion. This leads to the differences in the phenotype of the offspring from its parents. So parents' phenotype, or parents how they are looking, their young ones are not looking same like their parents. That is called phenotype, morphological, from outside. By seeing the children, we cannot say that these are the parents of these children. So differences are there. Differences in the phenotype of the offspring from its parents. These differences are called the variation. Now we have to say the different definition also here. Variation is the difference found among individuals of the same species maybe, and the offspring of the same parent. That is called variation. And this variation is the raw material for evolution. So one more question, dash is the raw material for evolution, which is called the variation. Evolution would not be possible without variation, because if we see the human being when it had evolved, we know that chimpanzee or gorilla like animals, from those animals human being evolved. So gorilla and present human being, they are not same. Changes have taken place. So from gorilla or chimpanzee like animal, changes have taken place gradually. That means evolution has taken place, and present human being have been developed. So variation is considered as the raw material for evolution. Now there are two types of variation. First one is called the somatic variation, second is called the germinal variation. Already these two terms I explained. Gene therapy, when I discussed, I told somatic gene therapy and germline gene therapy. Here also we are going to say somatic means body cells. So when the variations take place which affect the body cells or the somatic cells of the organism, that is called the somatic variation. So the variation when it is affecting the body cells or somatic cells, that is called the somatic variation. This is not heritable. That means that character will be not passing from one generation to the another generation. Parents to the offsprings, they occur due to environmental factors. So 3 points I have told, because sometimes coming the differences. So what are the 3 points I have told? No, somatic variation, it affects the somatic cells. They are not heritable, and they occur due to environmental factors. Now the same thing we are going to say the germinal variation. Here I told somatic cells are affected. Here I will be saying germinal cells, that means gametes, sperms and ova are germ cells, or gametes, or sperms and ova are affected of an organism. They are inherited. Second point, they are not heritable. Here they are inherited. That character will pass from one generation to another generation. They may be present in ancestors or may occur suddenly. Now they are not affected by environments. Now next we are going to say that is germinal variation is of two types: continuous variation, discontinuous variation. Continuous variation, these are small variations which occur among individuals of a population. So all individuals of a population that will be affected. They are also called fluctuating variation. They occur by gradual accumulation in a population. Example has been given: skin color, height, weight of an individual, color of the eye. Now discontinuous variation, they are sudden changes which occur in an organism. Already we have told the word mutation. Mutation means sudden heritable changes which occur in DNA molecule. Here also, discontinuous variation, these are sudden changes that occur in an organism due to mutations. They do not have any intermediate forms. These large variations are not useful for evolution. So, which type of variation is useful? No, continuous variation is useful. Example has been given: short-legged ancon sheep, 6 or more digits fingers. We can see certain human being, some human being we can see instead of 5 fingers there have been 6 or 7 fingers. That also, that character will be not inherited, and it is not playing an important role in evolution in human. Discontinuous variation forms the basis for mutation theory, and that mutation theory was one more question proposed by De Vries. Full name is Hugo De Vries, Hugo, Hugo De Vries, full name. Now next part we are going to discuss, this is all about variation. So what do you mean by variation? When does it take place? What are the types? And one thing I have told, the Hugo De Vries, which is who proposed the mutation theory. Now next part we are going to say about paleobotany. Paleo, the word, Greek word which is derived, paleobotany is the Greek word which is a combination of two words. Paleon means old or past, and botany means we know the study of plants. So how we'll be defining that branch? Now paleobotany is the branch of paleontology. Already paleontology we have discussed, the study of fossils. It is a branch of paleontology that deals with, it is a branch of paleontology that deals with recovery. Recovery means to get it found up by digging the soil for long years ago that had gone to the earth, down to the earth's surface. We have to recover it, we have to get it by digging the earth. And identification of the plant remains of geologic past. So paleon means geologic past, botany means plant remains, plants. So it is a branch of paleontology which deals with the recovery and identification of plant remains of geologic past. That is the definition you have to study. A plant fossil is any preserved part of the plant that has died long back. Just now I told fossils may be prehistoric impression that may be 100 to millions of years old. Majority of the plant fossils are disarticulated. What do you mean by disarticulated? In the fossil form we cannot get the plant as a whole. Different parts of the plant here and there in scattered form we can recover. So it is not in whole plant we are getting in fossil condition, which is called disarticulated, not in joined condition. Root, stem, leaf together we cannot get, but different parts we can get separately. Disarticulated parts of plants. That's why plant fossils are disarticulated, not joined. Root one place, stem another place, leaf another place. By seeing the characters we are assessing that may be the same plant. It is rare to find plants to be preserved as a whole. That one just now I told. Now what is the importance of this paleobotany or importance of fossils? Very, very important. It is a book back question. 4 marks question. They throw light on phylogeny. What do you mean by phylogeny? Now evolutionary relationship. Evolutionary relationship means present day so many plants are there, whether they have originated first time or they have evolved from certain plants. That means evolution has taken place. So evolutionary relationship is called the phylogeny and the evolution of plants. They give us information about the evolution of plants. Number 2, fossil plants give a historical approach of plant kingdom. What type of plants were there and which type of plant came on this earth at first? That also give us information. That is why that is called fossil plants give a historical approach to plant kingdom. Number 3, fossils are useful in classification, all related to paleobotany means related to plants. So they throw out light phylogeny, they throw out light on phylogeny, evolution of plants. Fossil plants give a historical approach of plant kingdom. Fossils are useful in the classification of plants. Fossil plants can be used in the field of descriptive and comparative anatomy. Descriptive, we can describe the anatomy and we can compare with one part to the other parts of the plant. Comparative anatomy. These are the 4 points for 4 marks question. Very, very important. Now, who is considered as the father of paleobotany in the world? The name of that scientist, he is the father, that means Caspar Maria von Sternberg. Caspar Maria von Sternberg. He is the father of paleobotany, was born in Europe. He only established the Bohemian National Museum in Prague and is deemed to be the founder of modern, and he is considered as the father of modern paleobotany. But in India, who is considered as the father of paleobotany? Now, Birbal Sahani. He is the father of paleobotany. He presented his research on 2 different areas of paleobotany. What are the 2 different areas? Anatomy and morphology of Paleozoic ferns, that means ferns, pteridophyte, and the fossil plants of Indian Gondwana formations. Till here, okay. Thank you, children.